Welcome back to the coolest channel on YouTube. Look, smash that like button. Let's get this video to like 15,000 likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're rocking with the vibes and the content. I got a special video here for y'all today. Just buckle up and watch this thing to the end so you can see the full delivery, not the genre of what we're doing here today. But look, man, hopefully y'all been having a wonderful day. This is gonna be a little bit hot, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a little hot in the kitchen. Just sit through it, goddamn, and you're gonna see I'm gonna lead you to the light. But you know, look, they like to say racism doesn't exist. It still exists. It just evolved. A lot of stuff evolved, just like slavery, and we're gonna get into that too in this video. Slavery evolved too, and guess who the slaves is? You're looking at us. Yeah, it's us. It's us. But they want us to fight amongst each other. But look, let's get into this video. Hopefully y'all been having an amazing day, and just know if you're going through a tough time, we family over here. We're going through this thing called life together, you included. So put your feelings and everything in the comments down below. Just be respectful of each other. That's all I ask. We spread positive vibes over here as best as possible. We family over here, so let's keep moving like such. You know, there's not a color over here, there's a vibe over here, and hopefully y'all can see it. But let's get into this video.
Yo, was he tripping when he said this?
You don't get paid to do your job. You get paid not to riot. They pay you just before riot.
Yes, but
if they paid you any less, you'd riot. And they know that, especially in the US. We did have slavery. Like, as soon as they lost it, they were like, that was some good stuff.
Every day that you get up and go to work, you're participating in a system that you did not agree to. And almost nobody knows why. You see, most people think that they ended slavery because it was the right thing to do. But the truth is, they just decided to get everybody involved. You see, the problem with slavery is you have to feed them, clothe them, make sure that they don't take you out. Pretty much the math stopped mathing. So they rebranded slavery into something else called a paycheck. And like the homie said in the earlier clip, they give you just enough so that you don't burn the entire thing down. And believe you me, they know your breaking point. But yo, the fly thing they did is they changed the words. I mean, nobody wants to be a slave, so they called it something new. You know, like debt and inflation. Pretty much the same concept, just with different words. I mean, it's kind of smart. They didn't abolish slavery. They just made it something that you have to apply for.
Mr. Gathride's age, physical abilities, things like that, do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I say yes, with my experience, not only just in classification, but as former warden and even as a jail administrator. He's someone that's young, he's healthy. In reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity.
Sweat equity. See, a lot of people think it's cool being a gangster and a murderer, but that right there is one of the people that's getting sentenced for the rapper's death, Julio. And you see how they're speaking about him. That's a different level of a slave right there. We slaves, but we kind of slaves, but they slaves. You feel me? And they speak openly about that. We all know that at this point, though, too, as well. But they want to pin us against each other, but they want us to fight. And guess who's going to end up in there? Us that's fighting. Every last one of us. I'm not going to jail. I don't want to be trapped in jail. Not me.
Poor white people are the most emotionally and psychologically abused group in all of America, bar none. It's not even close. It's not, no other racial, ethnic, or class group has even come close to being as totally propagandized as poor white people are. And it's because there has been a diabolical, centuries-long effort to turn them against themselves first and turn them against other people so that they never turn against the rich. The energy in America today is very fraught. It is very tense. And there is a lot of fear, but do you notice who the fear is coming from? We're fine. We knew all along who and what this country was because it never tried to hide itself to us. That energy that we're feeling, yeah, that's the collective awakening of poor and lower middle class white people who, until extremely, unbelievably recently, genuinely thought the government was on their side. They legitimately thought that. They're actually blown by the amount of hidden racists, by the amount of corruption, by the amount of scheming and backroom dealing and pedophilia. Like, they are actually shocked. And it's because back in the 1600s and 1700s, when poor white people were working in solidarity with freemen and enslaved black people and Native Americans, the rich people got so scared, so horrified by the thoughts of them being outnumbered by people who hate them, that they meticulously brainwashed poor white people into hating everybody and into being the foot soldiers of white supremacy so that they would not overthrow the rich elite. This is not a conspiracy. This is documented American history. Bacon's rebellion in 1676 was the prime example of what the rich white elite feared so much. Bacon's rebellion, so Nathaniel Bacon, right? Nathaniel Bacon was one of those frontier whites who the rich elite had pushed out to the edge of civilization so that they could act as a buffer between the pissed off Native Americans and the rich people. They literally put them out there as food. They literally put them out there to the wolves, literally and figuratively, to be like, okay, if the Native Americans get mad at us, they're going to kill the poor whites first so that we have time to hop on these ships and get away. That was the rich elite's thinking.
Think about it, y'all. Think about it. Real
Trump
shit.
fragged himself and then immediately raised $100,000. It's honestly impressive how much races support other races. They're a very, very supportive group. Form of content was, I'm going to carry a gun and pepper spray and then find black people and say, yo, you like free speech? And then immediately say nigga. And see, good for you. You get clicks, and obviously, like I said, racists support other races. But immediately right off the rip, it's like, bro, your ancestors are rolling in their grave. Like, at least when they said nigga back in the day, like, they owned something. You own nothing. You have nothing. You already have to do a give, send, go because you broke. And this was your only way to make money because you sucked at life. And now you're going to go to prison. I play my saxophones, man, because I ain't gonna lie, bro. It's over for you, gangster, because that's attempted murder. That's aggravated assault. And we know what your line of content is. You wasn't happy with your life, and so now you had to do this transformation. No pun intended. Now we really know the gun was just cosplay because you shot yourself in the fucking arm. Dickhead. And the guy that you shot, well, he's in stable condition. So now you're just attempted murder. And you might as well just shave your head off and put a swastika right there on that shoulder, my boy, because you have to be rocking with the Aryan people. Because you go in there, oh yeah, it's over, my boy. March of the air, you guessed it. Death. You gonna get took. You thought I was gonna say up top? No, hell is hot, and I hope you dress cold. You gonna be in an orange jumpsuit though. It's just gonna be kind of tight. I'm already knowing. You the type ain't gonna have to take your shoelaces because you gonna be, you feel me? Might as well kick that chair from underneath you, my boy. End it early. And that's what's so funny about racists, because they're so stupid. Like, a lot of these people was probably like down on their last dollar. Like, you know, I just gotta give it to Chud the stud. And for what? And your daughter, well, that looks like a failed experiment that went there. I mean, look at her father. Now, what are you gonna do next is the question. Well, it's prison. So I guess this 100,000 could go to a lawyer, but the case is already a slam dunk. It's not gonna be very difficult to put you behind bars. You're not gonna last long, so we know that. So I guess good commissary, or maybe your girl not gonna run off on you, but we know what happens. They don't wait around very long, especially for guys like you. You're cosplaying your entire life. So you probably knew that. You probably had a cup chair in the corner for real. Imagine being your lawyer and he has to deal with this, like series finales, a dead chimp on the pavement and you monkeys riding when I walk free, stay tuned. And I'm supposed to defend that? What do you want me to do? Your Honor, please. It's going to be another one where she's like, can we just figure out I don't know. You saw he used to wear a dress. Maybe we put him in the women's prison. You know, he's transitioning. I just like to double down. Your ancestors are rolling in their grave. They avoided black people. You seek them out. Man, hell is going to suck for you.
The crazy part is, man, like, you see how much money they raised? His bond is 1.25 million. They raised that money in like a day or so. And they say that racism isn't alive. His content was walking up to black people with mace and guns, provoking them with the N-word. Also, he stooped so low to go to homeless people and he was asking them, can he say the word so he can give them food? and them people was turning that down. You know, and he was just provoking people over and over and over again. Even old white people, he would walk up to them and do that to them, and they're like, "Yo, I got black kids," like. And then he'll get rah with them and try to provoke them to do something to him so that he can try to use a certain force that he has on him. Like he has the gun on him and he has mace. And in his latest thing, you know, he actually shot the dude. The dude beat his ass. And he shot himself too. You're a loser. You're a loser. You're a coward and you're a loser. And all the people that's on your stream and all the people that support you, all y'all are cowards and losers too. It's crazy that like we don't fuck with nobody. And all y'all want to do is think about us. Y'all know like the violence that happens, like we hurt each other and y'all hurt y'all people too. Just the same way we do. So what we doing to y'all that y'all not doing to us? You know, like we got a small percentage too that hurt y'all, and y'all got small percentage that hurt us too. It's like, it depends on the level of life that you're at. Where are you at spiritually, emotionally? What type of resources do you have access to? And that's a big part of it, is the resources. And the resources is physical resources and mental like resources, like people that you can sit down and talk to, that you can get some advice from. Some people don't have outlets. Some people don't have the resources. And you will see these violent behaviors coming from that. Chud the Builder is an example of that. He's a loser, but it's his fault. Because he had a company, but he decided that he wanted to be racist. And he got to understand how the real world works now. We're not playing that. We're not playing that. And then I seen on the internet the other racist people, their thing on this, they don't like Chud either. But the reason why they don't like Chud and what he's doing is because they're afraid that there will be another BLM movement. That's been their talking points. They're afraid that there's going to be another BLM movement, and they're afraid of that. Because it created a lot of change, I guess. For the motherfuckers that pocketed the money. Anyway, but look, we're gonna get back into this video, man.
Chud the Builder, when it comes to his situation, it is way deeper than the multimedia news is perceiving it to be, because everything that takes place in the physical world happens spiritual first. Now, Chud the Builder, he made his way to fame by antagonizing black people. After I seen some of his videos, I did some independent research. Now, when you break down the etymology of his name, it means ignorant, buffoon, unintelligent. But it gets worse. Just wait. In 1984, there was a movie called Chud that came out, which stood for cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, who are basically the embodiments of draconian reptilians. Now, when you get into connotative linguistics, when you study the digraphs of certain words, the word Chud is equated to the Chitahari that Credo Mutawa talked about, who was a Zulu shaman. When you look at the nomenclature title for the word Chud the Builder, it's equated to Freemasonic magic, because a builder is an architect, which is connected to that blueprint in the script of Freemasonry, because that's why he's being used as a catalyst to cause chaos. He's causing chaos for the Chitahari, the Chuds, who are the draconian reptilian, because they feed off the emotional energy of black people. Now, he's currently facing 25 years, and he also has a $1.25 million bond. Now, when it comes to that energy, you got to understand that we're in the last sun cycle. So when you try to go against the original people during the time of the sun cycle, that's like breaking universal law. We're not in the old age no more. We're not in the Piscean age of darkness where y'all was propagating racism. That shit is over with.
Done.
So what goes around comes around by way of the law of reciprocity. Energy expands and returns right back to your motherfucking ass.
Governor, what's your reaction to activities in the country since the
This is Jim Crow 2.0. It's sick. Stone cold racism in a scale I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Never have seen in my lifetime. It's all happening. Bring us back to a pre-1960s world. It's jaw-dropping what's happening. It was jaw-dropping what Governor Landry did. He suspended a primary election where tens of thousands of people had already voted. Why? To redistrict 2 districts to eliminate black representation. I can't believe that we're experiencing this. My parents talked to me about this. I said, well, thank God it's not going to happen on my lifetime. And it's happening in real time. Anti-woke is anti-black. All these attacks on DEI, it's anti-black. Level of racism is sick. Rewriting history, censoring historical fact. Number of African Americans have been eliminated from key positions and posts. The Pentagon and elsewhere, it's sick. It's happening in the United States of America in the open. And it needs to be called out. So forgive me for reacting this way. And I feel a deep responsibility to do something about this, and nothing to do with me as governor, just as a human being. This is not why our founding fathers lived and died. It was about the expansion of liberty, expansion of freedom, including more and more people. And we're seeing exactly the opposite take shape under this administration.
Oh, sometimes I wonder if they try to hide this from us. Follow along with me to get your mind blown. Let's dive into the one book you're not supposed to read, Enoch. So here's a fitting title, The Fall of the Angels and Demoralization of Mankind. And this is what he saw. And I looked and I saw, and behold, they led out their privy members like horses and began to cover the cows and oxen. And they all became pregnant and bore elephants, camels, and asses, otherwise known as donkeys. So out of all of the hundreds of thousands of animals in the animal kingdom, God decides to show Enoch 3 of them. An elephant, a donkey, and a camel. Whew, you can't make this stuff up. Let's slide on over to what the parties are in the United States. We got the Republican Party, which is also known as the Grand Old Party, or the GOP. And what is their logo? A dang elephant, bro. And what do we got here as the Democratic Party of the United States? Oh my goodness, could it possibly be a ass or a donkey? Go figure. And what about the camel? Funny you should ask, because that is the National Prohibitionists. Their logo is a camel. Okay, but what does the Prohibition Party do? So the Prohibition Party is the oldest active U.S. third party focusing on restricting of alcohol, tobacco, gambling to promote social, public health, and moral reform. It also advocates for conservative social policies and runs presidential candidates using a camel as a mascot because the animal drinks only water. So the reason why they chose a camel for their mascot is because it's considered dry. It only drinks water, which is a symbolism for the party's dedication to abstinence. Which I find very interesting that the book of Enoch himself would mention these 3 animals, which so happen that thousands of years later would be the animals used in our political parties. How would he know that? Fun fact about Enoch, he knew there was 365 days before science knew there were 365 days. How did he know that? Okay, so now that you know all that, let's get into the scariest part of this video. The elephants, the camels, the donkeys, and all of the oxen feared them, and they were afraid at them, and began to bite with their teeth and to devour and to gore with their horns. Jesse, where are you going with this? Who are the oxen? Well, the oxen is a representation of the righteous descendants of Adam. The donkeys, the elephants, and the camels, well, they represent the Nephilim, the monstrous offspring of the fallen angels known as stars, who bred with the women known as cows and heifers. Enoch saw the fallen angels breeding with the women who later gave birth to the elephants, donkeys, and camels, which would eventually fill the world with corruption. Now you know why the world is what it is today. Wake up, y'all.
We are now inside Jeffrey Epstein's library. This chalkboard displayed cryptic words, and we're not sure what this means, but we're hoping you and the audience can take a look at this.
All right, class, this was a blueprint to summon something. Let's break it down. When the plants appear, it begins. They drop in fake influencers, controlled assets, politicians, puppets. That's the first move. Power is a function of 4 things: money, physical control over your body, celebrity influence, and politics. They run those, they run the world. Now subtract truth from power, and what do you get? Deception. That's how they distort reality. And right under it, mirror and face. They mess with your perception and identity. Then you got music. Names on the board, Amen, Mimi. Could be handlers, could be signals. Either way, music becomes frequency control. You don't just hear it, it programs you. Next up, time minus delay. That's delta T. It means this isn't instant. It's all delayed activation. Like a psychological landmine. You step on it today, it detonates next year. Then you get this, 13 and a half. 13? That's the bloodlines. Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all of them. They own the banks, the wars, the puppet governments. But the half? That ain't human. That's the hidden ruler, the ancient force, the god they serve. And this statue on the side? That's him. That's the half. Then you see this equation, dark plus brainy. That's the operator class. Black site minds, predictive engineers, or AI. These are the ones pulling the strings. This whole thing, it ain't a strategy. It's a summoning sequence, a ritual, a formula to wake something up. 13 runs the show, but the half writes the script. It's a god of sacrifice, control, and fear. And this right here, this is how they're calling him in.
Do you think it's still happening? Sacrificing people to this god. Moloch.
I tell you a little secret, it's a secret. Government that worship an owl, they practice witchcraft to harness their power. Little kids for energy, it's satanic ritual, WTC. They lit the Pentagon on fire. That's lighting the pentagram on fire. Now hold on, let me cut that up. Yo.
No, Prodigy wrote a letter, so for everybody like Jay-Z and the Epstein files, y'all don't want to do nothing about. Prodigy been telling y'all that Jay-Z knew about all this occult shit, and he's chose his powers to side with the beast, bro. And people like, oh, in 96, nobody knew Jay-Z in 96. Bro, it doesn't matter if you knew him or not, he was moving through.
They're afraid of that coming back, us coming together and blocking out all of the noise and raising those vibrations again to the point where you'll see us do some mysterious things. But let's get back into this video. And everybody's not us, talking about human beings. And that will get revealed also. It's starting to get revealed slowly, but it's cool.
I fell. I was walking down the stairs. I hit my head on the banister. Jay Leno's on video. His whole left eye, his whole left side of his face is black and blue. And he has fallen down a hill, he claims. What's going on is something called soul scalping. And this is where a draconian, viril powered parasite, a reptilian, comes in through the left eye and within 2 weeks kills the soul of the person it's inhabited, but takes over their memories and their consciousness. And it appears as though these people are not going through an initiation. They're not being punished for anything, but they're notables and people of influence. Now, we don't know this, but I'm surmising why these individuals would have the black eye, why they would have the reptilian consciousness. And that's because they're people of influence. And that would be of interest to the race who really is our masters. Now, we think we're top of the food chain. We eat cows, we eat fish. Fish and cows eat other things, etc., etc. There's a pyramid of who's on top of what food chain. Well, what if we're not on top of the food chain? The thing about the Black Eye Club and this reptilian incursion through the eye, and I'll go into a little more detail of that in a moment, is that we're told by whistleblowers and we're told by certain text that to maintain the life force that they have just assumed, they need to have high stem cell blood and in large quantities, the kind of blood that would come from a baby. And if they can't have a baby's blood, then it's going to be adrenochrome. And only if this were true, then it would go a long way to explaining the child trafficking, the deep underground military bases where there's baby factories and the babies are sacrificed and the blood is used and adrenochrome is created. What if our masters require this? And what if our masters were all the people that we respect and admire and vote for, but they're really no longer themselves?
What's interesting about that is, remember I talked about the movie The Faculty and how that little worm got inside of them and it turned the whole school into like pretty much what he's talking about right here. Like pretty much they were like alien reptilian type things, kind of like the Body Snatchers. Also, there's so many different movies talking about the Vril. I wish that I was able to stream these things and we can watch the movies together so you can see the symbology and everything correlates. And they're pretty much pointing to the same thing, that these people have been compromised and they've been taken over. Watch the series Parasite. They have it on Netflix if you haven't watched it. But I suggest you watch the anime first. The anime is a lot better. But yeah, man, they want to keep us fighting with each other while we're being taken over. And they're not going to, some of them are not going to look different than us. Only reason why we know some of them have been compromised is because they're public figures. But imagine the people that are not public figures, that walk amongst us, that maybe have a vril in their body. You know? But also imagine the figures, the hidden hands behind the scenes, that I'm talking about, the ones that live in the tunnels, the ones that live underground. They have technology, and it's my belief, and from what I've seen in my life on a high level, a lot of this stuff could be true. Very true. But let me know how you feel about it in the comments down below. Let's keep going.
This movie, They Live, is now the greatest documentary of all time.
What's your problem?
Now, there's a million reasons why this movie's so relevant today, but there's one thing that you may have missed, like this book that's perfectly in frame right behind him by Edgar Cayce. Now, who was that? He was America's, at one point, most famous clairvoyant of the 20th century, and that book behind him was Edgar Cayce on ESP, which in short explains how his psychic abilities work and how we all have these abilities accessed through the Akashic records. Now, some of his predictions that actually came to pass is the Great Crash and Depression of 1929, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a temple under the Sphinx, but that last one can't be verified, right? Right? Yeah, it is, because in newly discovered declassified CIA documents, it explains a temple under the Sphinx discovered in July of 1950. Now, all this was released through the Freedom of Information Act, but Edgar Cayce actually predicted this decades ago before its discovery. Now, the way he describes this temple, he says it's an underground library of lost knowledge, kind of like Atlantis, which he also predicted to be real. Now, it is no mistake that they actually put this particular book in the movie because it shows how the veil has been pulled over our eyes, and Edgar Cayce was actually showing you how to lift that veil. Wouldn't it be wild that glasses like these actually existed that has Decillion dye used in the early 20th century by Walter Kilner to look into other dimensions and read auras and used in the Vietnam War? That would be wild, right? Make sure you guys hit up my channel, The Maverick Approach, because I did a bigger breakdown on this, and let me know what you guys think about all this down below.
I think the current tech giants like Musk and the soulless elites like Epstein are the dark magicians of Atlantis. And they are the ones who become the Greys in the future. Greys are the last vestiges of the human race. The parasites run this place by manipulating us because they have no power to create anything. They take this separation from the divine, from this earth to its absolute end. I do think they somehow came in through Mars and infected everyone with their parasitism. They never evolve, nor do they create anything. They only use our abilities to advance and create with technology that they steer us to use instead of our own divine connection to evolution and the Creator. Our souls and what they can do are a commodity to the Greys. But as we start to become fragmented through these resets and almost unusable down to 2 to 3 chakras, they start looking for another planet to go to. They get us to repeat these great 72,000 year cycles until there is not much left they can use. They then use what's left of our abilities to create technology to get to another planet, and they will latch on to this planet and do the same. This is why we see all of these rich tech giants being so obsessed with rockets and space. If we had our full abilities, all 12 strands of DNA working, we would see right through the manipulation of the Greys, since they are humans in a devolved state, just as Golem was a devolved hobbit in The Lord of the Rings. They give the new planet tech and AI and start the cycle of parasitism all over again. I don't think the Greys retain anything from their previous hosts. They just start their parasitic behavior and manipulation elsewhere. They don't care what they destroy, and they can't create anything, so they have no appreciation for it. They just use and discard Perhaps they don't even remember where they have been and what they destroy, as if they don't care. But I don't think they'll win this time. I think we as humans are seeing the infection for what it is.
And that's why a lot of things are changing, is because guess what? We on their ass, ain't we? Smash that like button. But look, check this out though. It's like we've been saying this for the longest. This is the reason why they keep shooting at the firmament. It's documented that it's a firmament that the government is shooting at, and they've been trying to get out of it. They've been trying to go underneath inside the ocean, and they got terrified of something down there. And that's why they, you know, NASA started in the ocean, y'all. Now they're trying to break the firmament, but now they creating bunkers because something is happening with the sun. Something you already know what's about to happen with the sun. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know what's about to happen with the sun. You could just put it together. They've been trying to block the sun out for the longest. They do it every day. We see it. We all see it. That's something that we all could participate in. Look up at the sky and see them things spraying all that shit in the air, and then it comes out, yes, they are spraying heavy metals. No rock. If y'all catch that. But look, it's just crazy, man. Like the stuff that we have to go through, and some people just don't want to get it. Just try to hear us out from a little bit different. If you're not familiar with this information, just try to hear it out, and some of the stuff will start to land. And then I implore you to go out here, do your own research, and just think a little bit differently. I think you'll find a new fascination, because I think most people that don't talk about these things are caught up in emotions and conflict. They want us to be caught up in emotions and conflict, and that's what we started the video with. They want us to be in a perpetual state of conflict and fear. That's because we have to understand that there's different entities on this planet that feeds off of that energy. They love it. They need that to tether themselves here and to keep you stuck. This planet is evolving with you or without you, and you have to choose the side that you want to be on, and that's how you're going to be able to choose. You have to master who you are, your chakras, and start to stand on business and stop letting these things happen. Do a little bit of research and you'll understand that, oh, that's possible, that something could be feeding off of our energy, because we are energy beings. We're not this flesh and body vessel. You are the thing that's piloting this vessel. This right here is temporary, but you are forever. Remember that. Let's get back into the video though.
The world has gone through about 6 great resets where basically the save file of humanity just was deleted. So I'm going to start with the Black Death, or the plague, and I want to start with this one because it took out 60% of the world's population, and we still don't have we don't have a full story on it. So this is what I found so far that doesn't make sense. So far I've learned that if the plague traveled by rats, which we believe that it traveled by fleas on the rats, it would have had to travel 30 to 50 miles per year. Instead, the plague traveled 2 to 5 miles per day, so that's 36 times faster than what's actually possible. So that doesn't make sense to me. Not that that's a hole in the narrative, but I do think that it's very weird that this is the first airborne illness that has ever come from ticks or fleas. And nothing else in history has ever done that. So I think that there's something else that this was traveling by. I'm gonna leave it there. This is my driver, and how do you take out 60% of the world and those numbers don't even make sense? Whatever.
1. The official timeline of human development is technically impossible. Now the question nobody asks, if civilization didn't develop, who wrote the story that says it did?
Part 2 of 2. The part they really don't want you to reach.
Historians, based on available evidence. That's how scholarship works.
Then explain language, Ryan.
Languages evolve naturally.
Beowulf was written in English. Native English speakers cannot read a single sentence of it without years of study. Same people, same island, completely different operating system.
Languages change under social pressure, migration, conquest,
and intelligence work. When language changes that fast across a population, it means someone changed it deliberately. Language is the first thing you control when you want to control thought.
Can't think a concept your language doesn't have a word for. Change the words. Change the ceiling on what's thinkable.
So someone just pushed an update and everyone's vocabulary changed overnight?
And language isn't the only thing that doesn't add up, fella. The Piri Rice map, 1513, Ottoman admiral, shows the coastline of Antarctica with accuracy that matches modern data. Antarctica was officially discovered in 1820, 300 years later.
Cartographic errors that happen to resemble Antarctica.
The map shows the subglacial topography, the coastline under the ice. We only confirmed that with sonar in the 20th century. He wasn't guessing. He was copying from a source that had already been there.
Someone mapped Antarctica before it was was discovered and before the ice even covered it?
Which means someone with aerial surveying capability existed and left zero official record, except for the map they accidentally left behind.
I'll admit the Puri race map is genuinely unexplained, but one anomaly doesn't prove the entire record is fabricated.
It's not one anomaly, Brian. Every major unconnected civilization describes the same thing. Gods descending from the sky, Sumerians, Egyptians, Hindus, Mayans. No contact between them, no shared trade routes, same story.
Like the same event happened everywhere at once, and everyone just wrote it down differently?
When unconnected witnesses describe the same event independently, that's not coincidence. That's corroboration. That's the strongest evidence you can have.
Either the greatest coincidence in recorded history, or they all saw the same thing, and the people who wrote the history books decided you didn't need to know what it was.
Then who were they, the people who wrote the history books?
People who inherited a finished world they didn't build and needed an explanation for it, fella. Cities already standing, languages already running, technology's already in place. So they wrote backwards, created a past that justified the present. Primitive man, Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. A neat progression that explains everything and is physically impossible at every step.
When you lay it all out, the gaps are larger than I ever considered.
We appeared on a finished planet, fella. History was written after the fact by people who didn't know who built it either. They just needed a story that kept everyone working and nobody asking questions.
So what are we actually?
That's the first intelligent question anyone's asked in this entire conversation.
Nobody knows, fella. And that's exactly the answer they spent thousands of years making sure you'd never sit still long enough to consider.
If none of that history is real, none of the limitations it gave me are real either.
Now you're asking the right question, Brian.
You're not the descendant of a cave dweller. Nobody actually knows what you are.
And that is where it gets interesting, fella.
I'm a conspiracy theorist, but you don't have to be one to find this weird. Back in the 1800s and early 1900s, there were hundreds of thousands of orphans being shipped across the United States. And it wasn't just the United States, other countries had massive orphan situations too. Around that same time, you have entire cities burning down, Chicago, Boston, San Francisco. You have thousands of adults being placed into insane asylums. And then you have these massive world fairs with buildings they say were just temporary and then torn down. Now I'm not saying anything crazy.
Sound like a war, and for the reset, you know, had to repopulate, huh?
Crazy. But hypothetically, if someone wanted to reset the world and rewrite history by making sure the past is forgotten, what would that look like? Would it look like burned cities, the adult population being thrown into asylums, and tearing down remnants of the past, and then being left with orphans to repopulate the world and shape the narrative? Maybe it's all just coincidence, or maybe our history is a little more complicated and more weird than we were taught. But I don't know. I'm just a conspiracy theorist.
Understanding it. Think about it. Put it in context like this. If you ever watched the movie Vivarium, so they said we have hybrids. They've been creating hybrids underground and stuff like that too. But just think about it. If a big population of people died off and you want to repopulate, and you want them to forget the catastrophes that just happened, what would you do? You create a bunch of babies and they don't know shit. They just gonna grow up to know that this is where they from and they've always been here, to recreate that narrative. So a lot of these people are hybrids, and this has been going on for a very, 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 very long time. It cycles.
It's worse than that. Everyone's talking about celebrity clones, but what if I told you it's not cloning? It's something the Bible warned us about 3,000 years ago, and you've seen it.
And what happened with Vivarium? Vivarium, watch the movie, they brought a baby in. These people were trapped in this little world that they drove in, and every house was perfect, the same, all the clouds was the same, everything, you know, was just perfect. And they was the only people living in this neighborhood. And the entity, which looked like a person, brought them a baby, made them raise the baby, and somehow they were getting they were dying, like their energy was getting zapped from them while they were raising this baby. And the baby was an extraterrestrial, was a pretty much a hybrid, and it could manipulate its environment. He can crawl under the street, you know, and dive down into different dimensions pretty much. And these different dimensions had other people and other beings that had them raising their babies as well, while the babies are what? Sucking the life out of them via their energy. And what do they like to feed off of here that we've been talking about? Energy. Let's keep going though.
Favorite artist suddenly acts different, or your favorite actor, a different energy, different eyes, and people say they cloned them. But listen, cloning is the cover story for what's actually happening. The Canaanites practiced child sacrifice to Moloch, but it wasn't just killing. In Leviticus 18 and 21, they call it passing through the fire. They were performing soul transfer rituals, harvesting life force and putting entities into other bodies. That technology never died. It just went underground. When someone signs their life away to the industry, that's a covenant. It's a trauma-based programming, and it fractures the original soul. And rituals create the opening. The original person dies spiritually, and a prepared entity walks its way on in the same body but a different driver. And that's why they seem off. In Mark 5 and 9, it says legion, multiple entities in one body, familiar spirits. In Leviticus 19 and 31, it says demons that mimic the person they replaced. This isn't new. It's ancient Canaanite tech repackaged for entertainment industrial complex. It explains sudden personality changes, lost memories, and different mannerisms, and doing unspeakable things without remorse, because their conscious left, and what's operating now is something else entirely. They don't clone bodies, they steal them, and you're watching it happen in real time.
What if what we thought were aliens visiting us was really us, but in the future? I know, crazy, right? But just listen. I've noticed that a lot of these drawings look very similar to human features, especially if we compare it to an astronaut. But who's to say this isn't us from the future visiting us from the past to make sure certain things don't happen? And let's not forget about those CIA documents that told us that present, past, and future all happen at the same time. Not to mention the new scientific evidence that says that what you're doing right now can change your past. Now let that cook. What if places like Tartaria exist but haven't been discovered yet and will be in the future? I mean, just take a look at all of the technology that we have today on ancient artifacts. Come on now. And what if places like cathedrals are actually where they do time traveling at? Think about it. Most cathedrals have sacred geometry all through them. And what is sacred geometry? The language of the universe. That's how you speak to the universe, how you get things done, including time travel. I mean, ain't really that far-fetched, is it? And what if they put it in a movie to give us a hint, but we just didn't take it? I mean, we see the building and the steeple, and look upside, there is the light beam going back to the future. Oh, and this video was purely for entertainment purposes, but make sure to like and comment and let me know your thoughts.
Okay, this is 100% proof that extraterrestrials, or what most people like to call aliens, are not what you have been told. And this declassified government document actually basically 100% confirms that the other video that I did about this, talking about Hindu cosmology, is actually 100% true. So if you haven't seen that on my page, go check it out. I go into more detail. But this memorandum is respectively addressed to certain scientists of distinction, to important aeronautical and military authorities, to a number of public officials, and to a few publications. The writer has little expectation that anything of import will be accomplished by this gesture. The more fact that the date here in were obtained by so-called supernormal means is probably sufficient to ensure it is disregarded by nearly all of the persons addressed. Nevertheless, it seems a public duty to make it available. The present writer has several university degrees and was formerly a university department head. Very serious situation may develop at any time with regard to the flying saucers. If one of those should be attacked, the attacking plane will almost certainly be destroyed. In the public mind, this might create near panic and international suspicion. The principal date concerning these crafts is now at hand and must be offered, no matter how fantastic and unintelligible it may seem to mind not previously instructed and thinking of this type. The first point, part of the discs carry crews, others are more under remote control. Their mission is peaceful. The visitors contemplate settling on this plane. These visitors are human-like, but much larger in size. They are not excarnate Earth people, but they come from their own world. They do not come from any planet, as we use the word, but from an etheric planet which interpenetrates with our own world and is not perceptible to us. The bodies of the visitors and the craft also automatically materialize on entering the vibratory rate of our dense matter. The discs possess a type of radiant energy or array which will easily disintegrate any attacking ship. They re-enter the etheric at will and so simply disappear from our vision without trace. The region from which they come is not the astral plane, but corresponds to the lokas or the talas. Students of esoteric matters will understand these terms. And if you go watch my other video, you'll understand it also. They probably cannot be reached by radio, but probably can be by radar if a signal system can be devised for that apparatus.
I've made the largest discovery in geologic and archaeological history. This account is specifically about revealing that discovery. So what is the discovery? It's simply that geologic theory is not correct. And one of our geologic layers is not natural. It's engineered. This engineering I'm talking about also applies to all the materials that are associated with this one layer. This engineering actually becomes architectural evidence of a worldwide superculture. But how is it possible that some of our layers are natural and some of them are engineered? It's because the layers of geology do not represent linear time as we have been taught. They represent snapshots of events, like cataclysms. And you know these events because they're called things like the Great Flood or the Younger Dryas. But what is this proof of this engineering? Well, the proof that I've discovered is simply I found their blueprints. I've done this in the same way that an architect will go to an existing structure, take measurements, and determine the geometry associated with that structure. And it turns out that this architectural geometry is so simple that it should be impossible. The first professional that I actually reached out to and approached to review this work and to confirm what I was finding, well, they really couldn't get past the idea to even look at the work. They weren't open-minded at all. Since I found another architect who is a little bit more open-minded, and we're going to see where we get with that. But who's responsible for this terraforming of Earth and this superculture? Likely, it's either the fallen angels or the Anunnaki. This engineering is so far outside of our capability that it's clear that these stories must be true. If you believe in the fallen angel perspective, it's pretty easy. After they fell, their leader instructed them to reform the Earth in their image, which would be Serpentville, essentially, and is precisely why the majority of these images that we see in the landscape are either dragon or serpent related. Now, if you believe in the Anunnaki version of things, well, then they created this. They created the world. They created us and the moon or whatever. And likely, if these things ever return to Earth, they will be pointing to this exact same stuff that I'm trying to show you and say, see, this is the proof that we were here before. When I discovered the proof that the Earth was terraformed, one of the things that it revealed was the actual true shape of the continent of Mu. And it's definitely not like this, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, the information or the proof surrounding this terraforming, I wanted to give you a little bit more information about that. The culture that is responsible for all this terraforming we refer to as the sandcastle culture. They've been discovered largely through their art, and it's this bizarre effigy system where these very specific shapes actually make up different images or different symbols. And so this area of the continent of Mu actually possesses one of these shapes. Now, we'll be able to verify this or prove it later. So we can actually check and see if a portion of our continents or a portion of our Earth is engineered by this culture. It's actually verifiable. And when it comes to the continent of Mu, well, that effigy system is very much present in this general area. But before I show you what the shape is, one of these effigies that is common is this kneeling priest sucking on one of these pine cones. Those pine cones mean something, and it's from the earliest cultures, like the sandcastle culture, and seems to be dotted throughout history. So the
Pine cone is the pineal gland.
These priests kneeling, sucking on this pine cone, is one of these representations. It's one of these effigies. It's one of these symbols. So when I look at the general area that is alleged to be Mu, one of the things I noticed is the general shape of the priest sucking on this pine cone. But do you remember I said that one shape actually makes up multiple things? Well, it seems to be the case here too, because when we rotate this image, it actually becomes this other funny serpent image that's always biting after like a blob. It's really kind of strange, but it's repeated fairly regularly across the world. So I'm sure you're like, yeah, right, buddy. And good. I prefer to stay in the crazy zone, because the moment that I drop any amount of proof that everything we've been told is inaccurate, well, I become a whistleblower, I guess. I'm no longer just a crazy on the internet. And so I would prefer to keep it that way.
I feel them.
You believe in dinosaurs, but you don't believe in unicorns? Even though there are entire records of them as if they are real creatures, not fantasy or children's stories, real. So
even though they even tell you that the bones and stuff that's in the museums are not real, People still believe that shit.
So take a look at this. This is a book from the 1600s written by a physician all about the unicorn. And what's interesting is it does not read like mythology, it's written like a scientific investigation. So a serious physician spending hundreds of pages studying the unicorn as if it is a part of natural history, and including entire chapters about the powers of the unicorn horn. According to these old texts, unicorn horns were believed to purify water, detect toxins, neutralize poisons, and protect from disease. This book even describes ancient rulers drinking from cups made of unicorn horn because they believed the horn could extinguish poison and protect them. Modern historians will say many so-called unicorn horns are just narwhal tusks. Then why are there entire books documenting one-horned land animals separately from the narwhal? Honestly, we've seen this pattern before. Dragons became myths, giants became legends, and advanced civilizations became just stories. Then eventually, the public is trained to laugh at an entire topic before they even investigate it. And maybe that's the real story here. Because when you dig into books like this, you realize what we were taught in history class may not be entirely accurate, and why when they want to reset the world, they burn the books first. But what do I know? I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Let me know what you think.
This is the Urbano Monti world map of 1587, and I think it's pretty fascinating because it's so detailed down to the trees, the type of trees that they had in the landscape. Like, this is obviously North America here, South America going down into South America. Time.
Y'all aren't ready for this one. Exodus took place in America, and the true Nile is the Mississippi River. Moses was born here and was buried in Utah. Pay attention to this one, because I'm going to be showing you how much of the Old Testament actually took place here in the Americas. When Moses split the Red Sea, he was leading the Israelites into California. For centuries, California was depicted as an island in all the older maps, even labeled with having a Red Sea. So if cartographers of the past were really mistaken, why do so many maps have this exact same mistake with such detail? Now by the 1770s, California begins to look like what it does today, but can't go back to its natural state due to so many dams and levees holding it together. There are over 1,500 dams in California alone, literally holding back an entire sea. Now, the Mississippi River is the true Nile. The Nile of the fake Egypt does not match the description in Isaiah 11:15. It said the Lord smite the river into 7 streams. But the Nile we're given in Africa only has 2 major tributaries. And what is the largest river complex in America? The Mississippi. It's the only major river on Earth that matches the description with 7 massive streams. There's also many Egyptian named cities across the Mississippi, and these are just the ones alongside the river, not considering the rest of the country. Now let's read about the death of Moses in Deuteronomy 34, which shows us his final journey and burial being in Utah, or Judah. All the locations mentioned are found here. This one puts the nail in the coffin. Then Moses went to the plains of Moab, onto the top of Mount Nebo. So a 70-hour walk from Moab to Mount Nebo. Okay, to the top of Pisgah. Pisgah, Utah, that is over against Jericho. Boom, Jericho, Utah, right across Mount Pisgah. And if you're not mind blown yet, you need to drink some wake up juice. But hold on, we still got more places to verify. And then the Lord showed him the whole land from Gilead onto Dan. Gilead, Utah to Dan or Daniel, Utah. Same thing. All these places are in the same vicinity to Mount Nebo. All of Naphtali, or Nephi, Utah, as in Naphtali being one of the tribes of Israel. The territory of Ephraim, right here. And now, you won't find a Manasseh, Utah on the map, but there's a reason for that. The town no longer exists. It didn't survive. But there was a Manasseh in Utah. Give it a quick search and you'll see Manasseh is said to have existed right next to Ephraim. And what do we know about these 2 tribes? They were brothers. So of course they'd be right next to each other. Remember, it says Moses could see the whole land of Judah, or the whole land of Utah, from the top of Mount Nebo. This is what it looks like 12,000 feet high. And sure enough, you can see all these sites from this mountain. Now let's take a look at their little fake hill, Mount Nebo, in Israel, Palestine, which is only 2,000 feet. And it's not even a mountain, it's labeled a ridge, a hill. So why are you calling a ridge a mountain? You mean to tell me Moses could see the whole promised land from this little hill? It doesn't come close. That
is a real mountain. There's also many more biblically named locations throughout Utah. Moses Rock. They told you Mormons named these places, but that's the cover story. That's the hijack. Mormons just knew they were setting up in the ancient lands, and they even talk about Indian tribes being descendants of the Hebrews. And while I'm not saying they are, it could explain all these ancient Hebrew artifacts that have been found throughout the US. Many of these tribes were at least in connection with the Israelites. And once you start to compare not only their cultural similarities, the artifacts, or even the linguistic similarities between the Native American languages and the Hebrew tongues, you will find a mountain of evidence. But that's a story for another time. America is the true promised land. And you know there's a spell cast when people can't see what's right in front of them.
Yeah, you got to understand, man, it's a lot of mysteries out here in the world that they don't want you to know about. But you know what I'm saying? Look, that's what we do over here, man. We ask a lot of questions and we go do some research and we come back together. We reconvene. We add stuff in the comments all the time. And this is how we spread and share information on what we're looking at. You know, they want us to be caught up in some low vibrational stuff back and forth, talking about race this, race that. That's low vibratory like conversations, you know. But sometimes we have to shed light on it so we can, you know, help some people come from out of that low vibrational conversation. And sometimes it needs to be had, but that comes with being a master of your own energy, knowing that what each chakra represent and how to navigate it and how to control your energy. When you learn how to control your energy, you can stop your energy from being taken and being used and being pretty much consumed for, you know, other beings to be here. At least they can pay us some goddamn money or something like that. But no, in the jobs, they pay you just enough to be broke. That's broke physically and mentally. Pay you just enough to be broke. But look, together, we stand, together we rise. We'll see better days. War is not the way. And that's all I got for y'all, man. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this video in the comments down below. It's a lot going on in the world, but we're gonna continue to make these videos. We're gonna continue to expand, and I appreciate the new subscribers. I appreciate everybody that's been tuning in, and y'all about to see me make it to 1 million subscribers. That's pretty dope. That's a dope accomplishment, and I couldn't have done it without y'all being here, support me every step of the way. I don't ask y'all for nothing but smash that like button, hype me up. We're doing this thing together, and I appreciate y'all for this journey that I've been on. And like I said, man, this is such an amazing time to be alive, and I'm happy that we can share these moments together. But like I always say, spread love, because there's too much hate in this world. I love you guys. I see y'all in the next video, and I'm out though. Bye.